good day to all you devils out there. Sam here with you. Friday, August 31st, last day of the month. Now, of course, if it's a Friday, that means it's a Bitcoin Friday. So we're going to start with a look at Bitcoin. There's not a lot of movement since the last video that we did, but there's enough to, we'll dig in over here on the right edge of the market. But let's just do a quick recap here. Now, one thing to note today, as we sit here at the end of the month, this is the options, the Bitcoin futures expiration day. So you might anticipate some volatility, maybe a few shenanigans happening today, but nothing that would affect the overall trend here. I don't think as we close out the month. So let's just recap here. Now, this is the count that I have currently. I'm not in love with it. There is no count that just is an absolute aha. But this count has the potential to play out and be realized. But there's other ways this could be counted. This is an attempt to really just try and simplify it here. So again, I've got us coming down in 5 here into an A. Here's a B. Now, if we're going, clearly we would be in a diagonal. So we have with the overlap here. So this all has to be laid out as three-wave structures, A, B, C's. I have a zigzag here in the third. It's just it may end up being a good example of why getting overly caught up into the count can be problematic, and it can ultimately paralyze you and keep you out of good trades. So let's here just to do the quick recap on this and sort of demonstrate what I'm talking about. So just as I've shown this many times before, just to look at our algo pulls here. So here's the the dominant one, right, with a target down here around 3,300. Well, that's the first one. But then we have a series of these as going through this whole correction. Here's golden zone, leaves us this target here. And then we have it yet again from every one of these pivots. Get that right on there, under my low here. So here we've gone 50, golden zone, golden zone. Here we've gone 50 yet again. Now we're going to get there in a second, but I just wanted to lay this out as to where all these targets are pointing. Now, as I will often remind you, just because we have an algo target does not mean it must be realized. This is not inevitable. But based on the historical patterns that we're seeing here, I wouldn't be quick to discount this as a possibility. Now, we have this little confluence, and I've drawn a little hot box down here where we have this confluence of these two algo targets between, let's call it 5,200 and 4,800. So, can't rule this out as just a logical place to see this sequence of swings ultimately find its targets. Now, nothing says we couldn't go to second targets, right? Now, note down here we have a pretty strong confluence down here where we have the larger first algo target literally on top of two secondary targets here from these prior pulls. So if you look here, this one is pointing here, second target here. This one is pointing from here, first target here. Let's do it that way. This one pointing here, second target here. Right? So we've got a series. These are, I'm not, again, it's not inevitable, but we can't turn a blind eye to this and say, oh, okay, correction's over, maybe we're turning here. It's possible. But this is a lot of, there's a strong pull for these to be realized. But again, it's not an inevitability. So let's just take a look here and see if we can draw any conclusions from this price action, acknowledging that all of this is down here. And as we know, algorithms are, because there's no guy going, oh, should I pull? Should I get out? Should I take it? This is just software. It's written. It's just going to stay short until it hits target or one of these 65s is broken, right? And then we will have a trend change. So in the spirit of just trying to simplify this, I've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I've seen dozens of counts of A, B, C, D, E. I've seen A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I've seen some crazy counts. It's, of course, we could have a double. We could have a combination where we have an ABC X, ABC X, ABC YZ. I mean, There's no easy count in here. And the biggest problem throughout all of this has been the last move down. It's almost impossible to get a clean impulse out of that because of what happened down here around the low. So let's go dig into it and see if we can make any sense of it here. So I'm going from the 3 hour down to the 30-minute. So here we are. Here was the tap of the 65 right into the golden zone. I'm calling this a C wave, and here's where it's so problematic. Now, I'm just as nothing else other than a placeholder, because I will at least throw a possible count on this, that we're trading this as a 1, 2, 3. This is the problem down here. Can't get that to resolve by any Elliott guideline. There's no way to make it work that's clean, maintaining the Elliott rule set. So what do we do with that? Well, so one first thought is, well, for an Elliott purist, if you can't get a count, you stay out. I think that's a bit extreme. I don't consider myself an Elliott purist. As I often will tell both members as well as many followers here, I think so Elliott Wave is incredibly helpful. Do I put it on every chart? Yes, I do. But is it the primary focus of my decision making? It's not really. So if we just put the Elliott aside for a minute and say, well, this could be 1, 2, 3. Maybe there's some Elliott genius who can come up with a count here that works. I can't find one. I cannot find a count that gets us resolved down here, that has us finishing and putting in the low down here. I just can't get one to work. Right now we do have, we can call this, there's a lot of bottoming down here. So we could call this a base of support down here at 5,900. So, and we've broken it. We've gotten to 57, pretty strong support down here. So then you look at it and think, okay, let's just keep the Elliott out of it and just think about what we have here. Well, so let me strip this a little bare because I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'm even going to take this off. All right, so just coming down here, if we just forget the Elliott count, what do I have? I have a swing high to a swing low. All right, well, of course, first thing I'm going to do with that is let's see, can we spot any algo footprints? All right, so here if I go swing high to swing low, well, here's my 50 sitting here. Now, note here I have this little pocket here of low. I have a low volume node. Whoops. Low volume node right here, right at the 50, because there has not been market acceptance here, right? A lot of market acceptance down here, decent market acceptance up here. But as I have this, right, so this is just the visible range, so we can see. So I'm really just focusing on this. Again, we have a little pocket here. Now, as I've shown you before, one of two things typically happen when you come to a low volume node. Either the market's going to come to it and just blow right through it and go towards market acceptance, or it's going to pivot there. And it's so we would come up here, pivot, and then head down. So this is a potential, it would be a place of interest. How about I phrase it that way? Something to be watching for no other reason than the 50s there. Now, if we think, well, wait a minute, I have another pivot here. Could they be using this, right? So this is kind of leaning back into an Elliott count as a 1, 2, gigantic 3 with an impossible resolution down here. But, I really struggle with this down here. But if I think about it, okay, well, 1, 2, a count I can't get clean, but I've got a pivot. Well, here's a pivot. Here's a pivot. Well, we've gone right to the 50. Maybe that's influencing. I'm more inclined, because I'm unsure of the count, I'm more inclined to use dominant pivot. So that may play well into what we see here. So if we get this little push here, if we're going to go up here and tap the 50, I'm going to like that a whole lot better, because it's dominant swing to dominant swing. I should say, pardon me, dominant pivot to dominant pivot. That's a cleaner 50 for me than trying to think, outguess the algos. Did they use that? Did they use this? Right? That's always the challenge. But I know for sure there will be software written to sell that 50. Now, it doesn't mean that it can't get through it, but it means I know I'm going to run into some selling pressure there. Now, if we can get through it, if we get through this, well, different ball game. Now that gets interesting. Now we have a potential trend change. And maybe there's a way to come back and end up counting this. Maybe. Here's the most bizarre thought of all. We go up here, and this turns into some sort of giant diagonal, because I can finish this as an ABC. I can't get it as an impulse. I can't. There's no way to finish it. Wouldn't that be bizarre? But that wouldn't be. That would be so disproportionate of the 4 to the 2. I think that's highly unlikely. This You got to watch for that. That's there's a lot of confluence sitting right there. Well, how do we look coming off of this low? Well, there's, as you can see here, there's a couple of different ways we could count this, right? And you've seen, I would like to think you guys took the time to watch my partner's video. When Quan went through this, he gave, he's as good an Elliottian as I know, and he gave you a very complex count that certainly works, right? Nothing he puts up wouldn't be within Elliott's guidelines and rules. So he'll give you a count that works here. But as I look at this, just trying to think about how to trade it. Well, again, if I can't get a count, my first thought is, okay, what can I be objective about? What can I see with clarity, rather than think, well, is this an A, B, W, X, Y up? What can I see with certainty? Well, I can just start working from pivots. Okay, so pivot high. So we had this one, right? I showed this to you last time, right? So here was the 50, went to target, right? Now that was we had the little exchange shenanigans going on there, but so you can discount it and say, well, that was just, traders being traders, maybe. But I did get, so I can't, this is indisputable, right? So here's a 50 to target. That's not, if it was shenanigans, then all it was is an algo pushing to get a fill. Possible, could be, maybe. Well, so then look at pretty, once we get that target, so you think, what's the tell for an algo participation? It's not this. It's this. What happens at the target? Well, interestingly, we come right back down. So look what we do here. So again, can I be definitive here? Swing low, swing high, golden zone. Now, you can count this, so I had been looking at this as a possible flat. Well, we run into a, kind of a guideline tendency here. I wouldn't call it a strict rule. I wouldn't trade it as a strict rule, in that in a flat, we would want the B to be much deeper. The goal being, I'd say 887, but the goal being in strict Elliott theory, you're going to get 90% in the B. We don't get it. We get golden zone. So does that invalidate it? Not to me. I would not say can't be a B because we didn't go 90%. More guideline to me. But so what's guiding my decision making is that I've got a perfect algo play, right? So got that off too soon. So swing high, swing low. All right into the golden zone. Front run on the target, probably, right? Them taking, here's the reaction. So again, on the assumption that I'm just not going to just depend on a clean Elliott count, even though there are multiple ways this could be counted. Again, what can I be absolutely objective about? All right, I've got back-to-back algo plays, bullish algo plays. All right, well, what's next? Well, if I just go from this swing to here, do I have anything here? Well, again, it's not perfect, but look. So if this is a front run, maybe that's a front run on the 50. Again, you have to speculate here. If it doesn't come a little bit closer, then maybe Vegas wave. Hard to say, but look what happens here. So we go from this first target, second target to the tick. Right, and now we're running into, potentially pushing back up here. So is this again, you don't know. Is this algo's getting the second target here, little reaction here. It's got enough legs to get second target. And now we get the confluence of, the second algo target on top of the first algo target. All right, so then you go, all right, cool. Can I keep this going? What do I have here? All right, well, that's right to the 38. Well, we'll get into that as we think about our our Elliott count. But if I'm just working from the pivots, now I'm in between. Excuse me. Now I'm in between the 50 and the 618. Maybe I'm just heading up to this target. Right? So that would be a break of the 50. But we certainly could be headed up to the golden zone. That wouldn't be surprising. So now you look at it and you think, okay, well, is there an Elliott count that works here? Well, you almost have to not ignore, but on the assumption that we're unsure, let's say it that way, we're unsure about this pivot and the count coming down. Is there a count going up? Yeah, again, it's not ideal. It's not easy to spot. It's a bit labored in trying to get a count that's clean here, which 1, 2, double top into a 3. Yeah, Yeah, that's possible. Could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into an A, right? If you saw Kwan's video, he had this going A, then into a WXY. It's just there is no easy count. So all right, let's try and simplify. Could this be 1, 2? Boy, it's hard not to think of this as a 3, 4, 5, but let's just assume that we're going to simplify. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you see what let me open that up. So it could be that I've got 1, 2, and then I get a 1, 2 here, and then go 3, 4, 5. So that would give me the 3. So because I need an impulse here, so that would give me the 3, A, B, C into the 4. Or potentially ABC into the 4 here. Neither one challenges the 1, so I have to finish with an impulse. Pardon me. I have to have an impulse in my third. I can dig an impulse out of that. 3 ABC into the 4, diagonal to finish it. Yeah, I can finish the third there. ABC down for the 4. Well, you know, it plays, right? So you're looking. Because it's an impulse, assuming we get a double top into the 3, what do? We come right 618 to the tick, which has me leaning into that. So again, it's objective. I can go from the 2 to the 3. What do? I go 618. Yes, that's deep for a 4, but considering this chop, you know, but at the very least, it's technical, right? So that's not happening. It's not. Oh, coincidentally, we're at the 618. That doesn't happen. That's not coincidental. From the 618 target, right? It rips through the target. Again, you had the exchange shenanigans going on. That could account for that spike. Maybe. We don't know. ABC down into a B. Possibly, right? Again, it's technical. We got to go all the way back down here. So I had a perfect 618 here. I go now swing high to swing low. I go golden zone. Target. So maybe that's AB. So here's where it gets a little tricky. So now we come off of that. Yeah. So we only have a few choices now. So if this is going to be AB, well, we need to finish with 5. Now we could have a diagonal. Well, this is interesting. Look what happens here. So coming off of that low, I can carve out some sort of 5 wave in here. It's not ultra clean, but can I get it? Yeah, I can get it. So I've got either a 1 or an A. Here I got a clean 3 into a B wave or a 2. Yeah, I can get an impulse out of this as a 3. It's either a 3 or a C, or we've gone A, B, C. But here's the tell, right? So if this is the 1, if it's the 1, we just overlap by just a couple of ticks. So now it has to be a diagonal if we're going to finish. If we've got one more leg up here to finish. So it's either we're finishing this A, B, C with a diagonal, or we don't have enough data to really know what's next. This could be. This could be 1, 2, 1, 2, maybe. Again, there is no ultra clean count, but this is a tell, right? So this means we have a diagonal. So whether the 3 is here or here, it's a double top right ahead of this target. So let's pull some of that off and let's clean the chart up. So it's either 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it looks like we're having a push up to potentially put in this 5 up here. Let me get rid of this. 4 into the 5, maybe. That would play right into that 50, potentially now just completing the ABC. Well, let's measure it. Let's take the pivot low to the high. Where would that take us? Right? Very common. Would be 100%. Well, that would have us getting through. That has us getting through the 50. Maybe, again, this would be a more dominant algo participation zone than the ABC, which is more of an Elliott play. Remember, an algo does not give a shit about the Elliott count. So they're just taking swing low, swing high, swing low, swing high. Where are we going? So you could think of it. Okay, I got a fairly strong technical resistance zone. How about we think of it that way? Well, what else? Is any market geometry here that can be helpful to me? Well, let's go up here. Now this I did notice was kind of interesting, right? So we have. Back right on there. So what do we have here? We have a golden corner pocket, right? So that's the quintessential golden corner pocket. right there, as I showed you this last week. All right, so we come from that pivot low. So again, whenever you see these, this is why you always want to look for these. When you see that is setting up for you the highest odds in trading, bar none. There is no trade, no setup, no technical voodoo you can put into the market to come up with a scenario that gives you higher odds than a golden corner pocket, bar none. I defy you to challenge me on that. Right? This has 80% probability of making the median line. What does it do? To the tick. Right? Oh, coincidentally, right at the algo target. You think that's random? I assure you it's not. All right, so what do we got there? So we got a golden corner pocket with a tap of the median line and then the reaction. Now we're outside of the lower parallel. Well, we could go to the 1.5, right? So I can put that on there. So this still could be in play. Let's get the 1.5 on there. Yeah, we're good. It's still certainly, so that now look, if we're going to push up here, look what we're headed towards. So again, the advantage of median lines is that these are leading indicators. Well, if we're just going to continue on this trajectory, what do I got here? I got a big cluster up here. I've got my golden zone from the pivot high to the pivot low. So I've got a big confluence zone up here if we're going back to median line. So I've got my 618, my second algo target, the 1272, if you can barely see it here, off of the length of the A projected from the B. If we're not going to pivot at 100, next target would be the 1272. Big cluster up here. Can we go back up here? Well, let's think. If we did that, well, then all of this moves up here. All of this moves up here. Let me get this fucker back over here. The likelihood of this being a 4 starts to be reduced dramatically because of the distortion of the symmetry relative to the 2. So I begrudgingly leave that up there because it's possible, I suppose. So could this be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Well, that doesn't kill the ABC. Right? It doesn't kill it from being corrective. Again, put the Elliott out of it. Right? Forget about whether that's a 4 relative to the swing down. What do I have here? Do I have an impulsive structure or do I have a corrective structure? Well, this is the first problem with this being an impulsive structure. So we are, if again, here would be the key to it. If I have this properly identified as the 1 wave, this cannot be an impulse, right? Because I have an overlap here of the 1. So it doesn't play. So what's more likely here? The more likely, given this, on the assumption that this is accurately identified as the 1 wave or potentially the A wave, because I have this, if I'm thinking, here's the bullish bias. You'd be thinking, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're off. Nope, cannot have it, right? So if you're going to stick to Elliott theory here, I cannot have this overlap, and it's very subtle. It's a couple of ticks, but that's enough to disqualify this as a motive wave, or pardon me, as an impulsive wave. So this cannot be 1, 2, 3, right? Now, that's if you care about Elliott rule set, right? Maybe you don't. You say a couple of ticks, who cares? Big deal. I'm going to play. Well, you might get away with that every now and then. That you might, but over time that's going to end up costing you money one way or another if you just ignore those. See, you have to pick something, right? So if you're going to use Elliott Wave, you can't go, oh well, it's kind of inconvenient for me to have that be diagonal, so I'm just going to ignore that one. It's only a couple ticks. Take that approach at your own risk. I would advise against it because it's the genius of what Elliott proposed, is that that is not insignificant, right? That will come back into play at some point. I absolutely guarantee you. So to just discount it because it's only a couple of ticks, I'd advise against that. All right, and that's 25 years of doing this. I've seen it. I've been tempted. I've seen, there's some that will tell you, well, in extreme volatility, you can allow for a little overlap. Avoid it, ignore it at your own peril. Okay, so if we're going to finish up here, and this is going to be a diagonal on the assumption that I've got this correctly labeled, well, I got to finish up here, so now we'd have an ending diagonal, right? So now I'm looking for 3, 3, 3, 3, right? So I can get an ABC. I don't love it, right? So how you get an ABC, it ain't pretty. ABC down, so I'm looking for an ABC to go up. Do we have those kind of legs? I don't know that we have those kind of legs. For all I know, the top's in, right? And so remember, the alternate here is that this is topped here, right? So let's put Elliott aside just for a second, right? So I've got algo target, median lines. I've got the 50 from the swing high to swing low. Nothing says this couldn't be 1, 2, right? This could easily be 1. Come here. This is what I'm after. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why not? There's no reason it couldn't be. Right? This one, anywhere from 50 to 786, down for the big 3, down for the 4, or into the 4, 5. Now we're back down here revisiting the lows. Right? Remember, all those big targets, all down here, all still down here. You know, again, and this could happen just as easily right here. Nothing says it couldn't. Right? So if this is gonna go up and finish, let me get rid of this. If this is gonna go up here and finish, well, again, certainly this could just be the one wave going down towards those lower targets. Right? That could just be getting started. So we'd have a 1 wave, 2 wave, 3. So think about how we're going to get down. Think of the deep, deep targets. How are we going to get there? We're going all the way down here. That's a 1 wave. So you can't ignore things along the way because, I prefer Bitcoin going up. Well, believe me, much Bitcoin as I hold, I believe it I would prefer it. We're going up. I'd love to see this be wrong, right? But again, you gotta pick some methodology and then stick to the rules. Otherwise, you might as well, it's just random. It's like, oh, market's going down, I should probably sell it. Oh, market's going up, I should probably, you got to have some sort of trading plan, some sort of rule set that guides you. Otherwise, this is just chaos. That's the whole point of the Elliott Wave. It lets you organize it so that you can say, probabilities of this going higher now have increased. The probability of this moving in 3-wave structure has now just increased. It doesn't mean it's certainty. I'm not saying, oh, this must happen because this little overlap has happened. That's not what I'm saying. But the probabilities now change. The skew, the potential targets, all of that changes with just that little pivot overlap. Just things to keep in mind, right? So again, 25 years of doing this. There is no rationalization I haven't done to try and accommodate some position that I was in. No rule I haven't broken because I thought it didn't matter. I don't say this stuff lightly. It's not about my positions in the market. I'm trying to teach you. I have the benefit of a lot of years of doing this, and I'm telling you, I've seen this before. That's why I draw attention to it. I've seen it before. Right, so in trading, a big part of it is trying to reduce mistakes, but ultimately it's not repeating mistakes. Right? So I've made that mistake before. I don't know of any mistake I haven't made. Right? So which gives me the confidence to come on here and try and show you some things because I've done them all. I've been on the wrong side of virtually everything you can imagine. Right? There is no mistake I haven't made. No, I've been on my knees begging for the market to turn around. Begging, pleading, anything. There's a great, if you search online, there's a great prayer, the trader's prayer. It's not unlike, when you're bent over worshiping at the toilet after a hard night of drinking and you're praying, please God, get me through this. I'll never drink again. I promise I'll never do this again. We've probably all been there. Did you hold to that? Did you never drink again? Well, in trading, every time you repeat a mistake, it's going to cost you money. I should look that. I should post that for the members. The trader's prayer. You'll all get a chuckle out of it. Anyway, all right, let's finish up here. So if we're going up here for a 5, let's pull back out. All right, I'm rambling now. All right, so there's just we don't have a lot. So would I be a buyer here? Well, it's the whole thing is not strong enough for me to want to add to my position. So if you're looking for you want a little weekend trade, that's very tradable. Nothing wrong with that, right? Where are you out? You're out here, right under the pivot, right? Because if this is going to turn around and go down, so you're sitting here. Where are we now? We're sitting at we'll call it call it 7 grand. You got a target up here at 7,500. There's nothing wrong with that. That's very tradable. I wouldn't give it too much room beyond that 4, because if you're trading that, you're on the assumption that you're in a 5-wave structure here. Right? So, I mean, that's tradable, right? There's nothing wrong with it. Here, I like the very low risk, right? Nice target. It's probably 4 to 1. No reason not to take that trade, right? Particularly if you're itching for a trade going into the weekend, right? Crypto, it's not a holiday for crypto traders. Right. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw volatility over the weekend. Right. As a lot of people are on vacation, crypto has a tendency to want to do that, to move when fewer people are looking at it. So watch for that. Right? So this is going to be interesting. So I put it this way. I certainly wouldn't be shorting it here. But here, well, that's something to consider. Right. If we finish up here, golden zone, median line, I'd certainly anticipate a reaction there. Right, so if I've got this completely wrong, right, so let's just think about that alternate. If this is somehow complete and the low is in, which is certainly a possibility, then all of this gets potentially relabeled. And this is all, we're just getting started, and this is all just, given the diagonal, there's all just one big leading diagonal to take us into a 1 wave before the next big 3, and then the low is in, the correction's over. I'm not ready to go there yet. Believe me, nobody wants that more than I do. I promise you. But it's just not there yet. I don't have the confidence. Now, if we were to do this, if we go up here and we finish here, and then we come down like this, and we get our nice little ABC into a 50 or 618, that sure sets that up, right? This I would take a long, hard look at adding, right, to a fairly full portfolio, but Bitcoin. If we see a 5-wave structure off of this come down as an ABC, that's very tradable. I sure as hell going to have a stop on it. Right? So that one to watch. If we finish this here and then we get this ABC, that could happen over the weekend. Right? That's something to be watching for, certainly. Right? This is the 4. I don't love it. Right? So how can you possibly? Well, I can't say. Anything's possible, right? But look at the 2 compared to what would be the 4, right? Does that seem likely? I'd suggest not, right? So I think that the real conundrum is, where is the 4? Is it here? Did we finish down here? I'd love that to be the case. I just don't see it yet. This maybe that's a 4. Maybe that fits, maybe, and that's a stretch even with that. Look at that distortion, right? So you can think, all right, what about the rule of alternation? Well, yeah, simple, complex, sure, you can make that argument. We're right to the 50, to an algo target, to the median line. Again, this could be 1, 2, and we're just starting down. So again, that's the caution. If you were looking to be a buyer here, that's why I'd have a stop under that 4. Right? Why write it down? No need to. Right? Because if you're wrong, the potential is that you're extremely wrong. So if we're going 1, 2, then this is just getting started. All right, and we're going to go down and go challenge this low, right, which is really unchallenged. Right? Has not. You could make a case that was the test. Right? I would anticipate more of a test of that low. We'll see. Right? So that's about all the. That's about all the information and musing and pondering and shared experience I can offer to you. I would just be cautious here right now. This is uncertainty. Let this thing reveal. What's the hurry, right? Bitcoin's not going anywhere. No reason to force a trade here. Right now, too much uncertainty. So if you're not in the market, don't force something here. There's no reason to. If this resolves up here, let's wait and see what happens. If we're coming down here, if we can't break this pivot and we come down, well, now we've got more information. We can be more definitive about what's likely next. If it happens up here, it's almost making it more uncertain, because now we absolutely are going, there's no possible way this can be the 4 of the 2. Well, again, I shouldn't say that. It's highly unlikely that this would be the 4 of that 1, 2. So then we got to rethink it, right? But so we rethink it. What's wrong with that, right? So as long as you didn't do something stupid here and let this hurt you, What's wrong with rethinking it? Right? Well, all we're going to do, the only thing that's going to change between now and the next time I'm recording a video with you guys, likely next, I don't know if we'll do it Monday or two, we'll probably do it Monday, is we're going to have more information. We'll have more clarity about where we are. Right? No reason to force something here. All right, guys, that's probably enough. I got one more for you today. We'll let Bitcoin show us. Let it reveal. I always think of it as kind of like a stripper. It's like slowly revealing itself, slowly teasing you. I'll leave you with that little thought. All right, guys, see you later.